1st, 2022 to order at 6:03 p.m. All council members are present. Welcome to all of our guests. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the city secretary at the registration table outside of the auditorium so staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation. Staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is able to be brought to you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item of business is to consider the minutes of the January 27th special city council meeting on February 1st, the 2 p.m. special city council meeting, the February 15th 2 p.m. special city council meeting, and the February 15th 3 p.m. regular city council meeting. These minutes were provided to you in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections? If no, those minutes will stand as approved. And the next item of business is a proclamation to Cash Hayes, the 2022 State Thespian Officer for the Texas Thespians Chapter of International Thespian Society. So if you would meet me at the podium. So thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to read this presentation, and then if you have any words, you can share those. I, Dylan Meek, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Waco, do hereby proclaim March 2022 as Theaters in Our School Month in the city of Waco, and urge the people of Waco to join with the city council, city staff, and me in raising awareness of the impact of theater education. Theater in Our Schools months help educate everyone about the benefits of having theaters in our schools and draws attention to the need for more access to quality programs for all students. It provides an opportunity for our community to engage in the ongoing process of theater education and support school theater programs throughout our community. We applaud the commitment to those who participate in theater education. In witness of my hand, in testimony thereof, witness of my hand in the seal of the city of Waco this first day of March 2022.
Just a little improv there, right there.
That's right. All right. The first item on our agenda is public hearing 2022-126. I believe that Kent George, the Director of Economic Development, will be making this presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This is a public hearing on an ordinance amending the project financing plan for reinvestment zone number 1 for tax increment financing, TIF zone 1. To consider approving an ordinance extending the life of tax increment reinvestment zone number 1, City of Waco, Texas, until December 31st, 2052, and updating the project plan and finance plan for tax increment financing purposes pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, and authorizing the city manager to execute any documents necessary to complete these transactions, providing an effective date, providing a saving clause, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to you on first reading. On March 1st, today, 2022, the TIF board voted 6-0 to recommend an ordinance extending the life of tax increment reinvestment zone number 1, City of Waco, Texas, until December 31st, 2052, and updating the project plan and finance plan for tax increment financing purposes pursuant to Chapter 311, Texas Tax Code. As required by law, a notice of the public hearing was published in the Waco Tribune Herald on February 18, 2022.
All right, we will open a public hearing on this item. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I'll move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Council members Borderoot and Palmer are disqualified. Barfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez. Aye. Holmes,
Aye.
Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of resolutions 2022-127 through 147. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move for approval. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Barfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez. Aye. Borderoot. Yes. Palmer. Aye. Holmes. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and the next item is ordinance 2022-148.
An ordinance authorizing and approving a contract for the exchange of real property with Baylor University in which the city is exchanging the city-owned tract of 3.905 acres of Dutton Avenue and South 4th Street right-of-way abandonment tract, being all of a called 0.5203 acre tract of land and a portion of a called 5.859 acre tract described as Tract 5 in a deed to the city of Waco, Texas, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2017-020899 of the official public records of McLennan County, as described in Exhibit A, the city tract for lots A1, A2, B1, B2, D9, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of Block 3 of the Morris Addition to the city of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, also known as 2101 South 8th Street, 810 through 814 Ivy Avenue, 2100 through 2106 South 9th Street, and 801 through 829 LaSalle Avenue, Waco, Texas, all owned by Baylor University, as described in Exhibit B, the Baylor Tracts. And number 2, approving the sale of the city tract, the purchase of the Baylor Tracts, and the expenditure of approximately $18,000 for closing and other expenses associated with the exchange of the properties, and authorizing the city manager to execute any documents in connection therewith. This ordinance comes to council on first reading.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Barfield.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Aye. Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2022-149.
Zoning from R2 to R3C on property described as Lot 3, Block 1, Willard and Riley Addition, known as 1418 Spade Avenue. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on February 15, 2022.
Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Barfield. Yes. Rodriguez. Aye. Borderoot. Palmer. Aye. Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And next we have the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters of consideration listed on an agenda item. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and provide follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is able to be brought to you. I have 2 cards, and the first is Dr. Northcutt. Mr. Herring, you are on deck. Good evening.
Every 7 years, the IPCC issues assessment reports covering the state of knowledge of climate science. In this year, 2022, the assessment report 6 is being released, and the second part of that was just issued this past Sunday. Now, these documents are the gold standard. To explain that, 270 renowned climate scientists review 34,000 peer review reports and synthesize a report from that. Now, from that report, it was noted that human-induced climate change is causing dangerous and widespread disruption in nature and affecting the lives of billions of people around the world now, despite efforts to reduce these risks. People and ecosystems least able to cope or being hardest hit. Now, the chairman of the IPCC, Hae-Sung Lee, stated, this report is a dire warning about the consequences of inaction. It shows that climate change is a grave and mounting threat to our well-being and a healthy planet. Our actions today will shape how people adapt and nature responds to increasing climate risks. In the United States, in 2021, over 40% of people lived in counties that were hit by the climate crisis. Now, the council here, I know, is able to respond to science. During the COVID pandemic, the city did largely follow the scientific recommendations. But in the climate crisis, I continue to see extensive delay. For example, the transition to EVs is a very important part of dealing with the climate crisis. And repeatedly, I see EVs not evaluated and not truly considered when there is an opportunity to do so. And that is at a time where we know the future of highway transportation is electric vehicles. For comparison, the city of Austin now owns more than 300 EVs and electric buses. And there are actions that the cities could take that really would have minimal cost. For example, the city has essentially endorsed renewable energy, purchasing it for city buildings. The city could have a campaign to encourage citizens to do the same thing. The citizens certainly use more power than the city does, and that would be a very positive step. Another thing is the city could go with all electric buildings when they construct something going forward, another very important step. And of course, as we do this, we're also decreasing air pollution, and often our air quality is not in the green zone. So finally, UN Secretary General Guterres said about this report very succinctly, delay means death. So I hope the city going forward will take every opportunity to take action and save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morkia. Next, we have Mr. Ephraim Herring. And as they're exiting now, real quick, Mr. Herring, if I may, I see Cash Hayes, which is an incredible name, by the way. I see that some of you guys, your friends, maybe came in after the proclamation. Is that right? Did we miss some of y'all coming in? I'm so sorry y'all missed it, but I just want to say it's our honor to celebrate this month with you guys, and glad that y'all were able to join us tonight. On behalf of the city, we appreciate your efforts on bringing great culture to our community. Yeah. Sorry about that, Mr. Herring.
Today about certificate of occupancy. Chapter 28, section 28-90. No building erected, structure altered shall be used or occupied until a certificate of occupancy has been issued by the building official stating that the building or proposed use of building permit is compliant with building codes and the provisions of this chapter. This is a very important document. There's nothing in here that states that the inspection department sends you a copy of that document. That document is also used when you go to the bank to buy a house. I went and tried to get a copy of that document because if somebody buys a house, you need to know if that house is in accordance with that certification by the city of Waco. They can't find my document officially signed off. So I came to y'all starting August 1st of 2017 to see if accountability for the inspection department to ensure that the house that was built by Neighbors Waco fit all the codes and regulations. I wrote a letter to city manager, and yet, as of 1,900 hours a day, 1,800 hours a day, the property is still not in accordance with some plans submitted to the planning department. In my understanding, you submit your plans to the planning department, your building plans, your site plans, and everything to consider that house. And when you get a certificate of occupancy, it should match. It doesn't. And no one has yet to come to me. It's going on 4 years now. I miscounted. It's going on 5 years now, and the city has yet to hold their people accountable for approving a house built by Neighbors Waco that's not in accordance with the plan submitted by the city, the tax abatement document that y'all signed off on. And I'm coming every day, like I say, every month. I'm telling y'all, I'll be back again to get this right. Or do I need to go further than this? God bless y'all, and be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Is there anyone else here to speak during the hearing of visitors? If not, are there any council member reports on committees, boards, or commission liaison visits? If not, we will recess the regular session for executive session as read into the record by the interim city secretary at 6:19 p.m.
Notice is hereby given that the city council will go into executive session in accordance with the following provisions. It is on real property under the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.072, and number 2, economic development under the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.087. We're now going into executive session at 6:20.
This meeting is adjourned at 6:34 p.m. Thank you, everybody.